hoping for that tonight. I just hope that it's England. Do you think that the loss of the front five forwards and Loveridge is going to mean that the All Blacks change the pattern of play for today's game to what we saw in the summer?
No, I don't think so. I think that the pattern of New Zealand play never varies right through the country, even from the provincial sides to the All Black side itself. But one thing you never will replace is experience.
Yeah. And there we see the All Blacks coming out onto the field, and I think, as you said, that England have got the experience this afternoon, and let's just hope that they can pull it off.
That's right. So let's hope we have a great game.
Yep, that's right, yeah.
Willie, thank you very much indeed. Let's move now to our match commentators, Gareth Edwards and Nigel Starmerson.
Well, for England, I fancy it's now or never. Not my words, but those of the New England captain, Peter Wheeler. Good afternoon from Twickenham this grey November day. Chill but dry and fine, and the pitch as immaculate as ever for rugby. Imagine the scene now, those 47 years ago, as England went on to victory. Can they repeat that today? The national anthems. From the 60,000 capacity crowd, and this the New Zealand side, comparatively raw recruits under the new leadership of their most experienced player, the first back incidentally ever to captain New Zealand on the British tour, Stu Wilson, probably playing his last international today. The key figures to my mind, the back row there, the world's greatest number 8 Murray Mexted, the linchpin of their side, and two men of amazing ball winning ability alongside him. Mark Shaw, who once played a season at Belsize Park, and Jock Hobbs, who had some time with the Vale of Loon. Up front, though, the new boys, with only Hickoreed and International before. Outside, well, the world's most exciting centre on the scene, Steve Vicari, the durable, aggressive Bernie Fraser, the goal kicker Robbie Deans, and the footballing skills of that new half-back pairing. All of them in action against Scotland last week, 7 of them in tests against the British Isles last summer. And Steve Vicari leading the New Zealand All Blacks with the traditional haka, and Hickory alongside him, lined up on the halfway line. Challenge to be laid down. England waiting almost nonchalantly behind their goal line as that all went on. Wit and pace was what Dick Greenwood was looking for. Their new leader, Peter Wheeler. Leicester providing 6 players. Mike Slemon there, back, becoming England's most capped wing of all time. And the two newcomers, after 14 seasons of top rugby, a first cap for the Geordie, Colin White, and former fellow Gosforth player, now with Bath, the 25-year-old Paul Simpson. What an initiation for those two. And for the 20th time, an international appearance as referee for Alan Hosey of Scotland. 11 seasons since his first. New Zealand to start. John Scott with the first touch, and White's in there. Well, Gareth, we talk about this as England's best chance ever.
Yes, and obviously they realise it as well. England have virtually chosen the side that everybody wanted to play for England. I wonder whether that experience can be put into realisation today, because they've got a big task ahead of them.
And how important the line out. That one won by Gary Braid, hoisted by Donald. Back there is Carlton. Nicely placed kick. Close to England's goal line. And this line-out battle, which Scotland was so successful in a week ago, surely a vital facet to this game. England with Colclough and Bainbridge, but it's New Zealand with the throw-in through Hickareed. Long from Exted, goes through to Hobbs on England's line. And held up long enough to keep New Zealand out. The first scrummage of the match, and it'll be a defensive put-in. Nick Young's just his second international, this young Leicester lad, with his club partner today, Les Cosworth. First scrummage. Good heat by New Zealand. Donald round to spoil. It's there for Shaw, but offside. And what relief in the opening onslaught that must bring to England. Peter Wheeler there, the captain, leaves it for Dusty Hare.
Yes, and that's the English experience showing in the scrummage. Though they were under a lot of pressure from that initial shove by the All Blacks, John Scott didn't panic, and he stayed down, and the pack virtually nullified one another and caught the New Zealanders offside.
Bit of a slice from Dusty, but safely away. It gives New Zealand the throw-in, though, and they've cut their line out to just two, and there's an interesting duel, Mexted and Scott. Switch the variation, nicely done, down to Craig Green to set it up. On to Gary Braid, 10 metres out. Available for Donald, Wayne Smith, held by Cosworth. Closer though, the drive by the All Blacks. Hobbs, Donald, Craig Green. Back goes Slemon, across there is Robbie Deans. Slemon puts it away. But in the meantime, some obstruction has given New Zealand a penalty close to the England posts. Alan Hosey had allowed advantage to continue, had seen obstruction, and has given the award of the penalty to New Zealand, and surely the simplest of kicks for Robbie Deans.
Precisely the type of start that any visiting side would like to have. But of course New Zealand, who obviously come into this match probably for the first time not as favourites, will be keen to show that they've lost none of their ways as far as winning is concerned, and we'll be delighted to have had this very early opportunity, because, to go back to the point we raised earlier, it's a very experienced English side.
And there's Gary Pearce requiring attention for a cut and having to leave the field, hopefully just for the moment. Don Gatherer there giving some speedy attention as England wait apprehensively behind their own goal line. And this, the chance for Robbie Deans, so long reserved to Alan Hewson, record point scorer in New Zealand rugby last year. 3 penalties, 2 conversions against Scotland, and within 4 minutes of the start, a chance to put New Zealand ahead. Deans safely home.
But probably what was far more ominous than that 3 points was the way in which the All Blacks kept control of that loose ball and made the ball available on 2 or 3 occasions for the scrum half, which shows that what such a good ball-winning combination they are.
Well, shades of the fourth test at Eden Park against the Lions, the spirit with which this New Zealand side started off this match. Young they may be, but rugby's in the blood, and determination there aplenty. Dodge, that favoured England style switch start over the dead ball line, and the drop out. Perfect conditions. A bit chill for the hands, but players will be warm enough soon enough. 5 minutes played. And the referee allows Gary Pearce to return, happily for England. Just a bit of strapping. Back to full strength. Simpson, first touch of the ball in international rugby for him, but it's Hobbs that wins it back to Donald. Wayne Smith. Cross comes Hare, outside the 22. Not much else he could do than that. Justin Hare's 19th international, equaling the record as the most capped England fullback of Bob Hiller. Two-man line again. Gary Braid, nice variation. Wayne Smith, Green, misses out Picari. Dean's in the line, trying to find Wilson, shadowed by Slemon. Wilson now ducks the head up to the 22. Hickareed, tremendous power. Mexted in support, and the hand helped it back after the tackle to the relief of England. And the mobility of Hickareed and the strength, what an outstanding tour he's had, shown to the full then. Dusty Hare for touch. To calm things down. England not yet allowed to settle at all. Just inside the England half. Braid and Colclough together. That was Bainbridge in the middle of the line. Wheeler tidying up, and the scrum England's put in. So Nick Young's one of the Leicester Sextet. First time a club has supplied 6 players for an England side since 1950. And Oxford University had that honour. There's the England ploy of the hoisted ball from Cosworth. The follow-up tackle initially by Woodward. The pressure this time put on by England. Now that was no surprise. We saw the practice time and again in England's rehearsals. The hoisted ball, the up and under for England to try and disrupt and force New Zealand back, which they've done. Inside the New Zealand 22. It's Colclough trying to win it at the front, number 4. But work back to Donald under pressure from Paul Simpson. Paul Simpson, well, what a breakthrough from him. Originally Gosforth's 7th team, and that's only a few seasons ago. Now, of course, with Bath and earning his spurs. So Colclough, the 2-jumper, Bainbridge the middle, John Scott hands on ahead at the back, but one. Peter Wheeler with a damaged thumb, I hasten to add, not making life easy for the throwing in, but found Bainbridge, who only managed to lose it, and here come New Zealand on the counter. Picari's chip. Hare waiting, but it's well angled. Well, those who may have thought Steve Picari was just a brilliant runner will now know the accuracy and the variable tactical kicking at which he's such an expert too. Colclough with the headband there on England's throw, the halfway line. Back on the New Zealand side. Wheeler in, but picked up by Brian McGrattan. Well, there's McGrattan, and you'll probably catch a glimpse of a T-shirt that he wears in big matches. A T-shirt which indeed was blessed by the Pope
when he was on tour in Italy and has become a great symbol to him ever since. The ball on the halfway line ends with a scrum.
Yes, the English line-out at the moment is a little bit scrappy. They're getting their hands to the ball, but the New Zealanders are spoiling it somewhat and are very clever at picking off the ball.
Donald, latest in a line of great halfbacks. The long feed through to Picari from Smith. Hare tested again. Well taken. Minutes have passed already. Just the one penalty by Robbie Deans keeps New Zealand in the lead. Braid at the front with McGrattan. Donald held in, but the line-out throw not to the referee's satisfaction. Alan Hosey with that great depth of experience of international rugby. Youngs with the feed. Into the box for Slemon to chase. Stu Wilson waits, and the harassing worked. Well, bidding to make this a glorious finale to his international career, as so he avows, captain of the All Blacks. 5 metres outside the All Blacks 22. The player turned and the ball fed back and away by Wayne Smith. Wayne Smith, who contested 2 of the Test matches against the British Isles last summer, was 8th international now, one of the 5 players from the Canterbury province, the reigning New Zealand champions. Scott, but no, Mexted won it. Round was McGrattan. And not yet the line-out supremacy in evidence that England had held in great hope.
I'm sure that the New Zealanders have also learned from last week's match against Scotland, where they were outplayed in that department by the Scottish forwards.
Mexted for once robbed by Youngs. Wayne Smith on the retreat, and New Zealand this time obstruct, and England get the penalty. So interfering with play in an offside position, and that allows England a first real chance of points through Dusty Hare. The hold-up is for an injury to Scott Crichton, the Maori prop forward we saw over here on Wales tour.
It is interesting to note the All Blacks being caught offside there, because I think that this side, because of their inexperience, are giving other the opposition far more penalty opportunities than any All Black side tends to do. And it'll be very interesting to see whether or not they carry on where they left off against Scotland and present Dusty Hare with the same opportunities.
England's record point scorer, 45 international penalty goals. And the man, of course, whose penalty and drop goal helped the Midlands to that historic victory early in the tour. The farmer from Newark. A chance to level the scores.
He knows this ground.
All square then, 14 minutes played. And once more, the immaculate place kicking of William Henry Hare. Three points all then. Clough and Anderson collide. The ball comes back though, nevertheless, to Nick Youngs. Kind of ploy he used for the Midlands. And up there too is clubmate Paul Dodge. A knock-on. And already signs that those high kicks, we saw one a few moments ago that caught Stu Wilson out, another one there, creating problems for New Zealand, who still have more obvious problems in the person of Scott Crichton, requiring further attention. This barrel-chested prop forward from western suburbs and Wellington, and requiring further attention for sure, and in real trouble it looks, which is cruel for him.
It's also interesting to note how England are playing the high kicks so far. Everybody expected with that Leicestershire back division to see quite a lot of movement, but England looking to a platform to work off first of all.
Sympathetic applause for Scott Crichton. New Zealand down to a 7-man scrum, but still safely winning possession. Chip neatly done by Craig Green. Wilson couldn't hang on as Sleman just got to him, took a blow himself, and the ball went forward. In the meantime, the referee's attention has been called by Brian Anderson over on the far touchline. And not for the first time on this tour has a touch judge raised his flag to draw attention to some misdemeanor. Alan Hosey across to Stu Wilson. Well, if you can lip read, you'll know what the fence is all about. And that's the end result, a penalty to England, as replacement Murray Davey waits to come on to win his first cap for New Zealand. Another Cantabrian, 28-year-old Murray Davey. Well, the New Zealand selectors had a long, hard discussion before deciding who should get the initial selection for this match. It fell to Crichton, but Davey now has his chance. As now indeed does Dusty Hare, to put England ahead for the first time. Just short of New Zealand's 10-metre line. Dusty Hare then. Looks secure, just to the right. And that's how it stays. 17.5 minutes of this first half played. Chop out by Wayne Smith. Tapped back by Gary Braid. Donald. Craig Green almost charged down by Winterbottom. Scott gathers it in. As England's headed up just outside the 22. Good work by White. Youngs to Simpson, the other new cap. Youngs struggling to get it away. Cosworth upended by Green, and New Zealand are offside in front of their own posts, and those telltale signs of inexperience. And when you'll recall how they denied Ollie Campbell even a kick at goal in the last 3 tests in New Zealand, we're now seeing errors which can be put down to inexperience. So Hare, his easiest chance yet. Can England go ahead?
Just prior to that penalty that New Zealand gave away, I was rather surprised that England still tried to keep the ball rather tight. They'd set up 1 or 2 good positions from which the loose ball could have been allowed to go out through the back line. The back line has been chosen for a little bit of running, and as yet, with almost half the first half having gone, we've hardly seen the ball move further than Cosworth.
Yes, 19 minutes played. England lead 6 points to 3. Yeah, make sure that Steve Picari runs the full distance before dashing it down for the dropout. England's game plan, one of no great enterprise, no frills to be included. bidding to play down into New Zealand's half. Murray Davey in the forefront. And they pile up the ball forward. Youngs, 10 metres outside the England 22. Controlled by Scott, trying to catch New Zealand offside, and it's worked. Well, there's a player who had, I think, the odd point to prove today, travelled with the Lions without getting into the test side, but has this third chance to down New Zealand for England. One of the members of the side in both 1978 and 79 here at Twickenham, when, like so often before, England lost on each occasion. Jock Hobbs. McGrattan setting it up. Colin White on that loose head side. And what a game for a debut. Away by Robbie Deans. Now England, in fact, have been penalised for coming through offside. Variation of tactic. Andy Donald with the bomb, as they call it in New Zealand. The Gary Owen beautifully taken by Hobbs. Donald in position, flicks through to Shaw. Mexted, great tackle by Sleman. And it's won by the England pack to Youngs. Cosworth. The crowd willing him then to pass it out, but hoists another ball. And Wilson, he'll be angry with that. Sleman back on his feet, took quite a blow then, but he did fell Murray Mexted in full flight. New Zealand's 22. Young's club partner Cosworth looks for the drop goal. Will it carry? Just to the left. Referee Alan Hosey followed it every inch of that tantalising journey, but left of the post. Quick restart by Wayne Smith, charged down by Peter Wheeler, recovered by Sleman. Up on the 22, to Scott, Bainbridge. Useful chip for Carlton, not quite bending his way. And England with their tails up. "23 minutes of the first half. And England looking livelier, more confident. The early nerves seem to have dissipated. Picker Reid with the throw. Almost got it on the return. Youngs, good work. Strong. Pearce to Simpson. Nicely played too by Bainbridge. From White, Youngs, Simpson. Still in possession, 7 metres out. Youngs, Cosworth, dodge, held by Hobbs and Smith. And again the forwards win it. Cosworth looking to make a gap, hesitated, and that was long enough for New Zealand to sort him out.
That was a very cautious approach by England, isn't it? They're playing that blindside all the time, obviously playing to tactics, Nick Youngs, but possibly they don't want to give New Zealand a chance to knock them down in midfield and create something from that loose possession.
Exactly the plan, I think, Gareth. Deflected by Braid. Hobbs, Donald. Do you see the speed of that flick to Wayne Smith that gave him room and time? The hallmark of class scrum half play. The speed of delivery, from the moment the ball is received. Halfway line. Wheeler with the throw. Colclough looked to be a bit barged out of the way then, but Hobbs has it for New Zealand, and Donald now gets past Winterbottom, feeds on to McGrattan. Bainbridge tried to turn him, but he went the full circle. Smith again. Set up for Donald. Craig Green. Carey chasing with Fraser, but bounced nicely for Hare, made himself room, but was just outside the 22. But no fluster, no real signs of anxiety, with a lot of defensive work to do. Well, the ball fell nicely for him, just sees that inch or two outside the 22, but the important thing was to play it safe, and he did. England's 22. Braid again, getting a better share of possession, but Bainbridge made sure it wasn't too much use. The rolling ball, Murray Davey. Inside the 22, but the ball thrown forward in the tackle.
The All Blacks played quite a number of two-man lineouts early on in the game, and they seemed to win some very good possession from there. Possibly maybe better if they reverted back to that, because the line of possession is very scrappy.
Again, Hare making room. Hurried in onto his left boot and safe again. So there's Colin White, 34 years old, winning his first cap after 12 years of senior rugby. Mexted, as ever, McGrattan round. There's the turn, back from Hickareed, Hobbs. Rebounding off Wheeler. Mexted back, looking for the chance to stretch England. Awkward bounce and run for Dusty Hare to cover. But recover he does well. It's the broken play attacks which have been the hallmark of this All Black side. Mexted, I sense for a moment, wanted to run that one, but saw England all up and plenty of open space behind to plant the kick. Two-man line they revert to. Over the top of them all. Little chip through by Alan Hosey as well. And so a scrummage called for. There's that stocky frame Nick Youngs, likes to take them on, but not in this situation. Back to Hare. And it must be very comforting for Youngs to have a club partner at fly half and at full-back too.
Very important, because when you're under pressure, and especially against a team like the All Blacks or the back row they've got, you want to know or be aware that your partnership is very much around you, and when you've only got a split second to get the ball away, to know that they will take it.
So now just outside England's 22. That was a mighty leap from Bainbridge. Slemon, the second full-back role, in clear evidence. And let's not forget the value of Mike Slemon in that capacity over the years. 30 internationals now, none last year when he was discarded. And again England, Colclough with venom. Youngs playing it close, support from Winterbottom. Good work from him, makes it available. Wheeler can't hold it, but Youngs has it now. New Zealand's 10-metre line. And England drive. A leaf out of the All Blacks book. Cosworth, Dodds. Robbie Dean stands firm and gets the mark. And the young Canterbury fullback gets a superb touch find. Just 24 years old, this shepherd from the hills above Christchurch, Canterbury, South Island, New Zealand. But there's aggression, determination in this England performance, which somehow seemed lacking in last season's efforts. Not so clever that time. Wayne Smith to Green. The loop for Hobbs. Smith still on his feet and away. Wayne Smith, the fly half. England's 10-metre line, and Donald looking for that chance with Mexted in support. Albie Anderson to Mark Shaw. Good tackle came in there from Gary Pearce, but the pack have won it back for New Zealand. Green up the centre. Hicka Reid. Well, that's the way he always goes. But the pack for England have regrouped. Cosworth is there.
Tactically, this game is very, very interesting. Dick Greenwood and obviously Peter Wheeler must be very confident that they can take this All Black pack apart for us probably later on. But the interesting thing is that Nick Youngs is keeping it very, very tight so that he can keep that New Zealand back row very close in. Don't allow them to fly out, knocking the centres down in midfield. And this, of course, is curtailing the All Black power.
And perhaps the significant statistic there is 75 caps for England's front five as opposed to 13 for the All Blacks. And England's pack have set it up again. Dodge meant that to travel further forward. Wilson caught by Winterbottom. Mexted. Slemon. Well, it was a fine, quick-thinking tackle by Robbie Deans. Slemon looked almost away and through on that interception. .32 minutes played. 2 penalties to 1. England's 3-point lead. Just outside New Zealand's 22. Scott and Mexted again in that personal battle, reenacting what happened in '79. Knock-on gives England the put into the scrummage. And certainly the lessons learned from the Midlands Division victory very much in evidence here in England's pattern of play. Too long. Barring disaster. Well, none too tidy in defence, but safe enough. Wayne Smith. Colclough, like a rock. But Nick Youngs let it slip. Referee playing advantage from the knock-on. Mark Shaw there, cowboy they call him. And certainly not a man to mix it with. Albie Anderson behind Maurice Colclough, characteristic pose. Of course, playing so much of his club rugby in France, but now back with the Wasps club, during such a good season. That was back from Gary Braid. And did New Zealand ever have such a youthful pairing in the powerhouse of the second row? The 23-year-old Gary Braid, 22-year-old Albie Anderson. Safely. Second surge by the England pack called for. Shaw given offside, the referee lets advantage run, and Youngs takes advantage. Inside meant for Winterbottom. Bernie Fraser gets in the way, fly hacks almost desperately downfield. Carlton, and that was typically aggressive Bernard Fraser, who came flying in, not really seeming to care what was at stake. And one's seen the odd aggressive moment from Fraser on this tour, which has caused me to wince a little. That
was highly dangerous. A leap and a fly into John Carlton. And Bernie Fraser came flying down at Carlton and took off and really seemed just intent on burying the man.
Well, that's a rather unsavoury part of the game. I'm not too convinced that Fraser really intended to hurt John Carlton. He was coming at such a speed that he must have been obviously unbalanced as Carlton cut back inside. But what was rather unfortunate for John Carlton was that as he tries to evade him or try to tackle him, John Carlton moves inside. Watch this, and Fraser, obviously trying to get hold of him, just left that trailing leg. A very, very difficult one to referee, but obviously Alan Hosey has penalised Fraser.
The end result, and a very sad one, is the injury to John Carlton, who's already had his fair share of injuries this season and left the field against Canada in the preliminary international. And I personally feel that Fraser's intention was all too clear. And certainly he went in high, perhaps not as he intended, but to down Carlton some way or another looked to be what Fraser was about.
So Carlton leaves the field. Dodge with the penalty resulting from it. Steve Bainbridge, middle of the line, but Albie Anderson so a man advantage for New Zealand with Peter Winterbottom standing out in Carlton's place. We're down to the last 3 minutes of this half, plus some little injury time to add on. England staying ahead. Fascinating dual, tactical game between these two sides. The two second rows combining well. Young setting it up.
And on the wrong side are the All Blacks, conceding the penalty on their 10-metre line.
And a chance for Dusty Hare to make that a clear 6-point England lead.
And so Nick Stringer gets his chance as replacement. His previous international appearance was as replacement for England's other winger today, Mike Slemon.
In the meantime, there's the angle and distance for Dusty Hare.
Sweetly struck, but just to the right.
So with just a couple of minutes of this half to go, that slender lead, 2 Dusty Hare penalties to 1 by Robbie Deans, and only 3 points between them. Colin White. Young's long feed to Cosworth, dodge. Leicester triumvirate. And again, no willingness to run it down the three-quarter line, but to set it up as England have done again. John Scott to the fore of things. Young, Simpson, Cosworth, Stringer, just a half-metre short. Bernie Fraser trying to force it out of defence and into touch as he does. New Zealand feeling the pressure that so many England sides have felt from them in the past. What a roar of support from the crowd as Gary Pearce waits alongside Brian McGrattan. England's throw from Wheeler, 4 metres out. Bainbridge, but it deflected down to the arms of McGrattan. The referee has blown for a scrummage.
Unfortunately for England, there have been too many of those lineouts where Bainbridge has got his hands to the ball, only to lose it at a crucial moment. England, of course, playing a very controlled first half, tying up that back row of New Zealand, and as we saw there, only releasing the ball at the very last moment when that back row have been sucked in. And Stringer almost scored with the very first touch of the ball and was only dropped a yard or so from the line. But as we've got an injury here to John Scott, who obviously went down there into that loose ruck situation where the All Blacks don't take any prisoners.
A lot of wheeling and crabbing in that scrummage. Donald fires it back to Smith. So England, as we move into injury time, bidding for another score before the break. Bainbridge didn't get hold of that one cleanly. Stamping by New Zealand. And a clear indication on the far side of the ruck there. The finger appeared to point at McGrattan. It was either him or Hobbs. It was not altogether clear, but one of those two stamped in front of the referee. And so a penalty chance for Dusty Hare. 2 successful, 2 missed penalties so far. Curls left, and the chance misses. The percentage not of the usual Hare high standing. New Zealand looked for the chance of the quick restart to catch England unawares, but think twice. Shaw still gets it away despite the tackle of Youngs to McGrattan. Mexted takes on the whole England pack. No one's better equipped to do so. But England have won it. Youngs, Cosworth, Dodge, Woodward, Sleman. First run. Donald gets the inside kick. The pressure's still on though from Sleman, forces him to put it out from behind the place at which he kicked it. But England would have been hoping that this last quarter of an hour of pressure would have produced further points. The last score was 18 minutes into the game. They've had the lion's share of this second quarter of the match, but still the score stays the same. McGrattan, that's no back clearance for a prop forward, my word. Well, there's a former New Zealand Colt who has in fact kicked the last play of this half. England leading 6 points to 3, and well, that fascinating tactical battle, which I'm sure will have been watched with great interest by that former England captain waiting in the studio, Bill Beaumont.
Yes, that's right, Nigel. I think it's England are perhaps losing the opportunity to let the ball go down the three-quarter line. I think quite rightly, they're sucking the All Blacks in with some magnificent drives. But I think Paul Dodge might be better just to let the ball go out and give Mike Sleman a bit of a run at Stu Wilson, who's looking a little bit nervous on apparently what's going to be his final appearance for the All Blacks.
I wonder whether this is a truly rigid
plan being played out, because, as you say, there have been opportunities when I think you would have wished to see that ball go down the line, once or twice even on the New Zealand 22, when they even still were tempted to put in the high kicks or the kicks through.
That's right, they are putting the New Zealanders under a tremendous amount of pressure, and perhaps Nick Stringer was a little bit unlucky not to score there. But really, you can't afford to let these chances go by, because very rarely against the All Blacks do you get a second chance. And so I'd like to see England to continue to drive them, suck the New Zealanders in, and then let the ball move quickly and support the runners that way.
Well, the one moment of controversy in the first half clearly surrounded the luckless John Carlton, and I wonder what you thought of it, viewing it dispassionately.
Well, dispassionately, you see here Bernie Fraser recklessly also fly-kicking the ball there, flying miles up in the air to John Carlton. And in my opinion, I didn't think Fraser made any attempt really to tackle Carlton legitimately with his hands. I think if you notice there, he catches John Carlton on his ankle or his shin with his boot. And really, I think it was a reckless tackle by Fraser, and unfortunately, as we've seen, it's led to John Carlton having to be replaced on the field. That I know Bernie Fraser's a bit of a fiery character, but I don't think there's any need for a tackle like that.
Well, one can see at least why he's got that reputation and carries the nickname of Ebony within New Zealand, as opposed to the other winger, which is Stu Wilson, whose nickname is Ivory.
I think from the England's point of view, Nigel, it's a little bit disappointing that Dusty hasn't had his normal, reliable kicking boots on. We've seen him miss 3 kicks, which normally he'd be putting over. So I hope that he repeats his performance that he did for the Midlands, where he missed a couple in the first half and then put over a drop goal and a penalty from about 50 yards to tie the game up for the Midlands. Because England certainly have had the opportunities to have increased this lead at the moment. But I think what we will see from the All Blacks now is that they'll be trying to run the ball and try and stop giving away so many penalties, which have cost them dearly throughout this tour.
Well, I wonder at times whether the criticisms of British rugby that we saw in the preview to this match from Bryce Rope, that we do seem to starve our talented runners, Gareth Edwards. Do you think this is what we're seeing today, when there's been plenty of possession about?
Well, it's obviously a confirmation of that. There is no doubt that England want to win this match and win it in the way that they think that they can best do that, which is to play very much to the forwards and not make any mistakes. Obviously, it doesn't conduce to being a very attractive game, but possibly winning today will be the most important thing.
And 40 minutes to go then, with England ahead against the All Blacks, and that, of course, the all-important factor, not how it's done, but whether or not they can achieve it. A goal which has slipped through the hands of so many sides since that famous day, and Prince Alexander Obolensky's 2 tries of 1936. Let's not forget that factor. Winning is the crucial, the one and only thing that matters to England today, and how they do it in a way is of second importance. New Zealand equally determined in this final game of their season and of this particular tour, want to intend to go out on the highest possible note. But England a chance now. Cosworth out to Stringer. Stringer trying to round Fraser. Dropping inside the New Zealand 22. Robbie Deans with the safe catch under immense pressure. Simpson did not knock that on. The referee allows play to continue deep inside that New Zealand 22. Colclough there, trying to turn the ball, set up the rolling maul and the drive. The weight goes in, the ball back to Youngs. Winterbottom, a metre out. Checks again, England almost on that New Zealand line, and are held out by the black phalanx. New Zealand's put in as close as that. Cave in. An important scrummage this. The referee making sure the 2 front rows go down correctly.
Donald, Wayne Smith. Well, kicked it a long way, but it only travelled infield about 10 metres down the touchline. And England have the throw-in through their new captain. 35 next Saturday, Peter Wheeler. And you'll see that thumb on the left hand there strapped up with a small fracture of a bone, which he kept quiet from New Zealand. Youngs misjudging that one. Hickareed comes through. Cusworth, though, picks up. Dodge. For Sleman to chase. Deans is back, though, in a safe bounce behind his own goal line. Watch for the quick restart. Checked, though, by Woodward and Simpson. Six points to 3. Gary Pearce, the Midlander, part of that historic victory, like the 6 Leicester players in this side. Pearce from Northampton, of course. Hobbs back to Andy Donald. And not a spare place in sight on this great day. England still just outside that New Zealand 22. Youngs again probing, tying them in. Simpson takes it on. And the drive on from Colclough. Youngs, Cusworth, Woodward, Hare, Sleman, a real chance. Can he get outside? Just forced out in the corner as Craig Green and Robbie Deans just kept him out by a whisker. England's nearest to a try, which would have been the first try against New Zealand since 1967 at Twickenham. But on the far side of the field, as Sleman glances over, Paul Simpson, I think, is England's injured player.
Well, obviously, as he's trying to regain his breath after setting up yet another English attack, I didn't think I'd actually see the day when I'd see an all-black pack being dictated to the way they are today. Sleman gets probably his first opportunity of the match, although England have won an abundance of possession, and really, although he was determined, it was good cover by the All Blacks, which makes it so difficult to score against them, even though they've had their backs to the wall for most of the match. But England really, as Billy Bowen said at half-time, must now make more of their opportunities. You cannot, against a side like the All Blacks, just keep on keeping possession, creating chances without getting a big gap between the two sides on the scoreboard. And as much of England have been very much in control for most of this match, at 6-3 the match is far from over.
So Peter Wheeler waits, a man that many have wanted to see as England captain, anxious no doubt at the injury to Paul Simpson, the Bath clubman who's come through so fast in just a few seasons to his first international today. Started out with the Gosforth 7th side before, within a few weeks, they realised his potential and put him into the first team, then moving to the southwest with Bath and Somerset. So since that first day in 1905 at Crystal Palace, England now on the threshold of only a second victory since that time. The only one at Twickenham, 1936. Can the 19th of November 1983 become the second? Wheeler determined it should be so. And an important line out here on New Zealand's line. England tails up, confident. New Zealand lacking that telltale experience up front that we've known of old. Craig Green in desperate straits. It rebounds to Wayne Smith, and the moment of panic is past. England's turn at the line-out. Grattan and Pearce. Donald calling the shout from scrum half. Scott, but not a straight throw-in. And the expression of disappointment by this capacity crowd really rang through the stadium. Still under pressure from England in their own 22. Robbie Deans, well, the man who was lauded as the hero of New Zealand rugby, in particular of Canterbury, in providing the downfall of the British Isles in that provincial game. Seems almost like yesterday, back here now as a full international in the place of Alan Hewson. Deflected by Braid. Tidy ball for Donald, leaving it for Mark Shaw. Sleeves rolled up there as ever on this near flank. Almost went unnoticed, Belsize Park, for a few games, a matter of just a few seasons ago. Can England create from this? Youngs fumbles, doesn't knock on. Winterbottom drops it down, picked up by Youngs again. 10 metres out in front of the All Blacks post from Bainbridge. Cosworth, the chip through by Woodward to Stringer. Just taken out by Craig Green, and the tackle in the corner. And tantalisingly close again. That was really a precision kick from Clive Woodward off his left boot. Stringer took it well, couldn't quite make it. And what stout defence we've seen again from the new boy in the midfield for New Zealand, the second 5/8 Craig Green at the line-out. Fired away deep into the stand, but only a couple of metres upfield.
I wonder why Wheeler doesn't put Bainbridge back to the back of the line-out, where obviously Scott has his work cut out against Mexted. Maybe that little bit of height at the back could give England the platform from which to launch around the back of the line-out.
Well, a chance on England's throw-in now. Bainbridge up highest. England drive to the line. Still in possession, Bainbridge. Still has it. The try for England. And Colclough is the man to get up with the ball. Maurice Colclough. What a time to score your first try for England.
Well, it's the move that England have tried on a number of occasions today, but have actually failed in the last moment. That is a tap down from Bainbridge in the line-out, and the ball moving and working, keeping the ball very, very close to the forwards, showing the type of control that England have had all day, and that is just reward for the hard work they've put in.
Does New Zealand form an emergency huddle conference? Dusty Hare has the conversion attempt. Magnificent. 12 points to 3. 11 minutes of this second half played.
Well, it's not spectacular, but to score this type of try against the New Zealand side really must be creditable as far as England are concerned. Taking the All Blacks on in their own type of game, and Maurice Colclough, after what was a little disappointing tour for him in New Zealand, must be absolutely delighted with that try.
Well, I recall he was jubilant enough about scoring a try for England against Fiji, but that will pale into insignificance now. His first England score, and against New Zealand of all people. 12 points to 3. That must have given England all the confidence in the world, if they were lacking any anyway. And he's off again, is Colclough. Bit of mix-up with Youngs and Pearce. And watch for the New Zealand comeback now. This has been yet another of the hallmarks of All Black rugby. Stung into a reaction of some significance. Mexted, Donald, Fraser chasing, past Stringer, Cosworth to the rescue, Dusty Hare getting out of trouble to Stringer, full-back to full-back. And a nod of recognition of Dusty Hare's neat footwork that saw him courting disaster and saving the day. But a 5-metre scrum. So, touching goal, New Zealand's put in. But England in no position to rest on their laurels, and seen this All Black side come back time and again and save their best for the last, notably after the opposition have scored. Mexted. 2 men to bring him down. But that they did. The pressure on now, though. 5 metres out. Donald standing off, leaving it for Mexted once more. Youngs did the right thing, but the knock-on allows advantage. Mexted again, almost through, but just held those 2 metres short. Hickareed still has it. England swamp, deny. But again comes the All Black pack. Donald can't find a way through either. The pressure on this time, and over the England line, the try is given. And Murray Davey there at the bottom with McGrattan. Murray Davey, the replacement, comes up with the ball as the try is awarded.
And the hallmark of the New Zealanders once again, showing how quickly they can get back. The drive was elementary, but really it was the fact that they got back into the game so quickly after the English score, really set up by the pace of Bernie Fraser. We saw how Nick Stringer, who was usually a full-back, was left for a little bit of pace, which meant that New Zealand could encamp on the English line. The All Black halfback Donald then used the short side, and it was the New Zealand forwards up in support and the drive over the line. But really what stands out is not so much the simplicity of the score, but the fact that the All Blacks remind us once again that they are never ever beaten.
Andy Donald varying the play as that pressure mounted and mounted on the England line. First Mexted and Reed, and then 5 of the pack in a wedge together. Eventually got England back on their heels. Robbie Deans with the conversion. Within 3 points now go New Zealand. And in a sense it's back to where we were at half-time. A 3-point margin, a quarter of an hour gone of this second half.
It was England's turn now to be tied up. We see the ball being kept very, very close together. Bainbridge there desperately trying to stop the All Blacks coming through, but they've kept the ball together, and 2 or 3 of them actually got, and I believe it was probably McGrattan who got the try.
We start by Dusty Hare, and what an atmosphere here. Far from over, with 25 minutes to go. Hobbs sets it up. Donald feeds to Wayne Smith. Cleverly placed. Back in his 22 is Hare. New Zealand ringing the changes again then with Gary Braid there, the 23-year-old, up at the front. And the world's greatest number 8 at the back, Murray Mexted. Cornerstone of New Zealand in this tour. Dives into try and turn Bainbridge, but England have won possession, only for a scrummage to be awarded. Mexted, one of just 3 players who faced England 4 years ago at Twickenham.
Robbie Dean's in trouble. The pick up by Winterbottom. Nick Youngs. Mexted is there. And Picari. And how little really we've seen of this unusually gifted centre three-quarter Steve Picari.
Line out is about 6 metres outside New Zealand's 22. England's still ahead, 12 points to 9. Try a piece in the space of 4 minutes. Donald. Green.
On the line. And Touchler's decision not to the like of some of those sitting on the terrace seats. But a beautiful clearance by the 22-year-old centre. And there, Peter Wheeler. Well, captain against Canada, captain of England against Tonga in Tonga some 4 years ago. What a day this would be if he could hold on to that lead. Craig Green, Picari now. Fraser, pass, Stringer, difficult one for Hare, knocks on. Not expecting the referee to miss that offence. Fly hacks it downfield, but the scrummage back just outside the England 22. Whatever else, we've seen something of a rejuvenation of England's fortunes when you consider last season they didn't win an international and were wooden spoonless and scored but 1 try. Donald. Wayne Smith tries the long drop goal. The referee looks, waits, but turns and signifies a dropout. And that can't have been more than a few centimetres off. And that's some victory for France, with the series going now 1 win for France and 1 draw in that series against Australia. Here it's 12-9. Stu Wilson almost. If he'd plucked that one out of the air, the line seemed to be clear. But England regroup in defence. Hicka Reid. What a star of this tour. Hicka Reid, so long the understudy of Andy Dalton throughout the whole of the Lions tour there. The man from Ngongataha and Bay of Plenty, and still only 24 and always in the forefront of the driving rushes. Seven metres out from England's line. Good leap by Steve Bainbridge. Youngs, that looks solid. Wilson, though, keeps it in play. The long drop goal from him. Fires straight down the touchline and eventually goes touch in goal. Well, a man of great imagination. The players have enormous respect for Stu Wilson. In victory or defeat today, he'll long be remembered in an illustrious international career. 19 tries for New Zealand, but none today. Towering dropout by Hare. Bainbridge, equally towering. Youngs, up to Slemon. Just short of England's 10-metre line. And the noise of the crowd such that Hicka Reid has to go a few metres infield to learn from Andy Donald what the line-out signal is. For Albie Anderson, supported by Mark Shaw.
A feed to Donald. Smith, Green, trying to get past in the tackle, but the pick up by Winterbottom. Stringer on the loop is Simpson with that lovely handoff of Fraser. Eventually forced out. Oh, and he's hard into that hoarding. And that is a very cruel moment. Paul Simpson there, forced out of play and really hitting that hoarding so hard. Well, there he was on the handoff. Bernie Fraser in with the tackle, and clearly no one's fault whatsoever. Well, you can judge that for yourself. Oh, sickening moment. Well, Bill, a worry in this modern age of rugby and hoardings around the ground.
Yes, certainly is there, that it's very close to the field, but coming back to the game, Nigel, I think the worrying thing for England, well, we see the replay here, magnificent handoff by Paul Simpson of Bernie Fraser, and his momentum carries us in there, and I think people might think that Steve O'Carey put him there intentionally, but it's amazing when you're on the pitch. You don't realise when you've gone over the line in a tackling situation like that.
Oh, no, no way anything intentional about it. No. I'm sure you're right.
But I think what England have to do now is lift the pace of the game, because they have relaxed slightly and allowed the All Blacks back in.
Always the danger with New Zealand, but Simpson's all right again.
That's right, he looks in good form there.
And what a debut for him. Halfway line then. 24 minutes of this second half, and England still, their noses ahead, 12-9. Craig Green under pressure, slices the ball. The cross kick for Sleman or Wilson. And finally in touch. Quick throw into Winterbottom.
The match now becoming full of little mistakes. And what is unusual, a lot of them coming from the All Blacks, who tend to be very good at their basics.
The game plan still in action, the hoisted ball, the no-nonsense play. But Wilson, the man who loves adventure, plays rugby in a great spirit, but in trouble. Wayne Smith puts it out. Sleman anxious to set up a counter-attack chance, the sort of thing he loves to do, but rarely gets the chance, certainly not today.
And if Nick Youngs is going to keep on putting that high ball into space, then I think he has to put it somewhere where the All Blacks aren't going to make use of a loose situation. The All Blacks aren't getting that much possession, and therefore it's up to Nick Youngs not to squander away the hard-won possession that his forwards are winning.
Two-man line for England, Bainbridge and Scott, but Mexted made it look so easy. Shaw, see how he fed it. Gary Braid, Shaw again. Smith sees that way blocked, and the other. And Colker takes man and ball towards England, but somehow it finds its way to Donald. Dusty Hare trying to drop it into touch. Robbie Deans back in his own 22. Well, the pressure certainly telling, the mistakes creeping in. Dusty Hare pumps one up into the sky, dropping deep in the 22. Wilson rebounds off the charge of Peter Winterbottom. England's pack swarm in front of New Zealand's post. And the chance lost from the knock-on. I could have sworn we would have seen a Les Cusworth drop goal then. But New Zealand, for once, matched up front. Donald, errors from him too. Robbie Deans, and that's some recovery. Minutes to go. England leading. Those 3 points ahead. And they're throwing.
Peter Wheeler, his debut as England captain. A victory he knew was within his grasp, and the crowd bidding to help them on. Brave for New Zealand.
Great player in the making to follow in the footsteps of Andy Hayden. That man.
Sleman, good recovery. Dusty Hare tries the long drop goal. He's done it again, has he? Not quite. It dropped below the crossbar. Almost a repeat performance of that drop goal for the Midlands in their victory at Leicester. Well, that would have been his second for England, and it was well worth the try. But England still camping deep in New Zealand's half. 18 metres out as Wheeler throws to Scott. Hobbs takes it in, down by Winterbottom. And one of the characteristics of this game is the way that the England back row have done so much to stem the New Zealand breakaways at source. We haven't seen that dominant performance of Shaw, Mexted and Hobbs on this occasion.
Of course, that drop goal would have been the sort of carrot those English forwards would have needed now to take them through to the last quarter, when their lungs and their legs are very weary.
And the pressure mounting all the time as the minutes tick away. Less than 12 minutes to go.
Donald caught by Simpson. Sleman and Donald and Simpson together. And a day to remember for this man on his debut. An inspired selection this is proving to be. And loving it.
But that is the situation that the All Blacks obviously missing the experience of their players because they're making too many basic errors.
Not the sort of mistake I think we'd have seen from the likes of Loveridge. Donald accurate this time. Green. See how New Zealand are giving the man with the clearance a bit more time by missing out Wayne Smith and firing it straight to Craig Green to evade the foraging England back row, notably Peter Winterbottom in the van. Still England's throw-in. Colclough there. His deflection. Youngs, Cusworth, Woodward. Fraser waits, Stringer charges. Down goes Fraser. Deans, Wayne Smith, Bernie Fraser on the breakout, New Zealand, as they love to do. And finally, a ball forward and England put in just inside the New Zealand half. 10 minutes to go. And any score would see New Zealand get on terms. The try, of course, would put them ahead. But England holding that lead, and look at the drive in the scrum. Offside by New Zealand. The referee plays advantage. Cusworth knew it and was happy to accept the kick. Quick thinking.
Very, very good thinking there by Les Cusworth. He probably thought that if he tried to move the ball, the referee might have allowed the advantage to go on. Although Alan knows he's a very good judge of that situation. Cusworth obviously realised that there was a chance for a penalty conversion here by Dusty Hare, and therefore got rid of the ball immediately to touch.
2 penalties, conversion by Dusty Hare. This, well, obviously so easily within his compass. Could give England a 6-point lead. Well, it had the distance, but you heard the ooze of disappointment as it drifted left. So no cushion for England here. 3 points is nothing. Wayne Smith with the dropout. From Scott. Youngs, strong. Stringer, but the touch flag is up. No try for Simpson. The touch judge's flag is up. Well, going through the motions, and perhaps next time. everyone. 60,000 people on tenterhooks as the players battle it out these last 8 minutes. New Zealand bid for glory, but Picari for once perhaps affected even he by this tension. Pity we've not seen more of that silken running. But England happy to have seen him contained.
Yes, but he's had no platform to work on. His halfbacks have been indecisive. The ball hasn't flowed smoothly at all from the line-out, has it?
Meagre possession for New Zealand as Colclough wins again. Simpson to Winterbottom, to Youngs. Setting it up about 12 metres out. And England perfectly happy to play the rugby down here in New Zealand's 22. 47 years since England beat New Zealand at Twickenham. And 1953, the day that all Welshmen will remember when Bleddyn Williams scored the last victory by a home country over the All Blacks. Still in play, no knock on, but Cusworth pass to Woodward didn't allow him much opportunity, but well set up again by the pack. Cusworth, Slemon, how will it bounce? Across is Wayne Smith. When was an All Black side last set back on its heels for such prolonged time? Unrelenting support from the crowd. On the verge of ecstasy if England can stay ahead the last 6 minutes plus injury time. Colclough, magnificent. Youngs, Cusworth, dodge. Held by Wayne Smith. And swiftly won by the All Black pack. Stu Wilson, there's that adventure again. And what worries for the All Black captain now? First ever back to lead New Zealand in Britain. Scott and Mexted. Again. The wedge perfect. Youngs still gets it away. Winterbottom setting it up. Youngs once more. Bainbridge, one hand up. Great tackle from Hobbs. Still deep in New Zealand's 22. Craig Green. England must beware the breakout. Stringer to Hare. Eventually by Craig Green. England regroup, but New Zealand there in greater numbers and strength first. Wayne Smith, Picari. That was superb anticipation by Stringer. And Picari couldn't have blinked an eye before the crunching tackle came in from the Wasps replacement, Nick Stringer.
And as Peter Wheeler tells the referee he's got a slight leg problem, I'm not surprised because he's worked hard this afternoon. He obviously wants to drop the tempo a little bit, even though England have regained somewhat of their grip. The important thing here now, of course, is that England don't present New Zealand with any opportunities. Even though we haven't seen Pokere, he's so dangerous that England must eliminate all kinds of possession to them.
Well, here was Nick Stringer making his mark in no uncertain fashion. Picari, even he, a man who can sidestep four people in a telephone kiosk, couldn't get out of that one. England's put in just inside New Zealand's half. And you can sense the excitement here. 12-9, England ahead. New Zealand only ever with 4 defeats in 36 internationals in history by the home countries. 30 years since any home country beat them on a British ground. "3 minutes plus injury time remain. 12-9. England stay ahead, as they have been since the 18th minute of the first half, and there's still more to come. Perhaps Winterbottom, Wheeler in there. Colclough, superb, but a knock-on allows advantage to be played, but New Zealand offside, a penalty that might seal their fate. And England, one sense, is a bit fortunate there, because I think it would have been a scrummage ball put in by New Zealand for a knock-on had that not just preceded it. 12-9, and Dusty Hare only about 25 metres out. He's done it. "11 points for Dusty Hare, with the try by Maurice Colclough to go with it, sees that scoreline with 2 minutes to go. The crowd now sense an historic victory in sight. Perhaps something they haven't really dared believe till England put over that penalty to give a clear 6-point lead. And what a day of triumph this can be if England hang on. Peter Wheeler, the new captain, 35 next Saturday, 37 internationals behind him now. A leader by example. What a cheer for Bainbridge. How Colclough and he have dominated that phase of play in the second half. Youngs. The ploy still there to the end. The referee has given a penalty. I sense that may well have been obstruction after the ball was hoisted. And an interesting decision there for Paul Dodge, just to play it down the line. Even a missed penalty would have given New Zealand a chance to counter-attack. The ball is a lot safer in touch, and time passes too. 15 seconds plus injury time remain. 15-9, England on the brink of a great victory. And a penalty from the line-out hoisting, and New Zealand will run this. Pickering, Maxted, magnificent. Donald, Wayne Smith, Stu Wilson, desperately trying to find Wayne Smith in support, and the tension sees Sleman and Wayne Smith just exchanging unpleasantries. No matter. A minute of injury time has gone. The crowd cheer them to the echo. The heroes in the white strip. Scott, every good England play gets a special cheer, and Scott's leap then, no exception.
As John Scott is well prepared to let that ball die, because he knows that the minutes are ticking away. It's England's put in. They're very comfortable in the scrum, as they have been all match.
Well, I know that such as Bernard Gadney and Hal Seaver, Peter Cranmer, and other survivors of that epic victory of 1936 are watching this game from the comfort of an armchair, and I would love to know the thoughts going through their minds now. The last day, 4th of January 1936 it was, that England, under Bernard Gadney, defeated New Zealand at Twickenham. And now a whisker from doing it again. 15-9 as Dusty Hare pumps yet another one high into the west stand here. And time passes. 2 minutes of injury time played. Internationals up till today, 10 New Zealand victories and only 2 by England, 1 in Auckland, 1 in 36, but New Zealand still with other ideas. Craig Green, 5 metres out, the follow-up is knocked on, and bear in mind that a try and conversion could still level it. You've not beaten New Zealand till the final whistle's gone. 15-9, it's a 6-point margin. Almost 3 minutes of injury time. A scrummage 5 metres from England's goal line. Safely from Youngs to Hare, the Leicester pair. Make no error. The watchword in these dying seconds. Wheeler there with fist raised. The final whistle goes and England have done it. An historic triumph, inspired and led by that man Peter Wheeler. The crowd erupt in sheer joy. A triumph that rolls back the years. Peter Wheeler on his debut as England captain. The last victory over New Zealand at Twickenham 47 years ago. Only the 5th defeat